Okay, for today's session, we're going to be looking at trying to work with midfield players, trying to find space between the back four and midfield. In the modern game, it gets called the half space. Now, this can be occupied by either your wide players coming in or your two midfield players going and playing in them pockets while your wide players stretch the pitch. A couple of different ways of doing that to try and exploit the half space, which is a great place to try and get into from an attacking point of view, as it really does cause problems for fullbacks, centre backs, midfield players. So we're going to do a session trying to work on around recognising when can we play into those players in them spaces, and can we also get players to recognise when to go and occupy them spaces as best as possible to try and create problems for defenders. Okay, so the first part of the practice, we are going to work in an area where we're going to set up two lines of four, replicating possibly a midfield four, back four, however you want to work. Again, you might have a 3 and a 3 if you're working in the modern day midfield of 3 in midfield. It's completely up to yourselves. I've designed this first bit as if I was working with 12 players. And the session is quite simply, the team in red, for example, moves the ball across the line as quickly as they can, trying to shift this back line, and they are currently going to be locked into the areas. So 7 can't come all the way over to here for now. He would have to stay in this area here. So that's the same for every player. 6 is not allowed to come into 8 space. They have to keep his space. Okay? And they're moving the ball, trying to move the ball as quickly as they can with the objective of trying, with these 2 players in behind, trying to find those good passing lines to receive in behind the midfield. So that's their job, is to shift across as a 2. They might swap and rotate, however they see fit to move, trying to get onto a position to receive. And if they receive, can they finish first time into one of the small goals? You might even have a simple in-set finish into the small goals, however you see fit. And obviously it works the other way. If yellow's successful in blocking the pass, can they do the same? As 10 alive, that these have been shifting at the same time, just anticipating any potential pinch of the ball, play in, and again there might be small goals here for them. Okay, I've left these out deliberately on this side because again we're talking numbers with this session. If I've got, so this is based on say 12, if I had say 13, I might add, and one of it was a goalkeeper, I might end up a little bit shooting practice this side possibly. He plays in, sets, shoots, in, turns, finishes, something like that, where I might get a bit of finishing practice with the goalkeeper. You might also allow progressions as the session is going along while we're moving across. I might then allow one player from this side to just drop in to play a better bounce pass, because obviously if he drops in here I would allow the tackle. Panks in there. If he does press, is he alive enough to read the situation, play? But as soon as he's bounced and played off, he's got to spin back out and look again. And if he comes in here, again, play. If he's in and he's smart enough to recognise, bounce, and we play through. And again, turn and finish, or you might now have a combination to add a little third deep run off that player recovering in. Which is obviously might be a little progression for this session. Obviously, again, we're talking numbers. You might have 2 defenders just waiting up here, possibly. So if they successfully play through, we're going to have a little bit of a 2v2 trying to score into either net. You might have a defender at this side, so you might have just one defender if that's all you've got, and one defender this side, so this becomes a 2v1. This becomes a 2v1 to score. Just some different ideas on how you might work this with your numbers. You might add, again, if you've got lots of numbers and I've got a defender here, I might add a wide player and a wide player that allows me to try, and if we can play wide, can these stay within the boundary of this line, find the right little pockets to play in. Again, if I have the numbers. I might add players like that to help with the session. So that's the basic setup. A few different ideas and concepts on how it would work. Again, it's a good little defending session. If there's two coaches, for example, you might have one coach might work with this team defensively and another one with this team offensively. You might have a coach who just literally works the whole session defensively. So if this team has the ball, he's working these, try and keep their shape, try and squeeze, try and not get played through, while the other coach is working with these. And then as the ball, if it transitions over, he swaps and becomes working with these, while the other coach continues to work with the attacking players in the session. So that way you get some defensive work out of it as well as some offensive work. But it's a good little session to try and work and find the spaces and the pockets in behind. Okay, so now we're moving on in the next part of the practice to a bit of a phase slash function. Okay, so the setup is I mark an area off outside the 18-yard box, okay, where this particular game is going to play. If I'm working with 12 players, I might have my my left back and my right winger obviously here, but they are not allowed in this area here to start with. Okay, obviously if I do have more, I might have my right back, my right winger out here. Okay, but if not, I would just get rid of this side of the pitch. This is where we play and this is the width. Again, working with 12 players. And as I say, if I've got more players, I would just add them. A couple of right wingers here. This player might be you as the coach, because again, if you've got 12, you're going to have to be maybe represent the deep line midfield player who just starts again and feeds the ball in. If you have extra players, that could obviously be your deep line midfield player. Just a different way of adding things. So the session is basically yellows trying to score, 8 and 6 working with obviously yourself or your 4. Can we find passes in behind these 3? So I'm focusing on my 9 and my 10. Their movement off the centre backs. Can we play in, play in? Can we play straight in, depending on what's on? Yeah, movement off the 2. It might come in for bounce pass, played in, whatever you want to, however you can get the ball in the pockets in behind. I'm also going to be working in 6 and 8, not just on when they can play passes through, but can they recognise if 9 is nice and high occupying, 10 is looking in here, 8 might go and occupy that space in there, as 4 plays in, plays across, can he recognise that little space to go high and play in behind and not always be showing to feet goal side of them defenders? Can he cause a problem by doing that? Again, it might be that 10's come across and 6 is the one who's trying to play in behind. And that's how we work this particular session here. And again, might be 10's dropped in, 5, and can 9 maybe recognise when it is right to come in and drop into that little space, which may drag 4, which maybe allow ball over the top, may allow a bit of combination with 10. These little areas are what we're looking for. Can they realise when the space is there to go and get it in behind the midfield, causing the back 4 problems? Now the first part of this, you might lock this and this slightly separate, so if they succeed in getting a pass into 9 or 10, this just plays 2v2 to either a shot or Reds winning the ball. Again, it might be if you play in and 8 is good enough to receive in behind. Again, the lock is 3v2 because they've been clever enough to create that little overload, little bit of play, a little bit of movement that has caused problems to the defenders. And then again, obviously, you might just then unlock everything. So even if they play into 9, 6 can recover, 10 can recover, 8 can recover. Trying to be a bit more realistic as your practice develops. With the wide players in this scenario, I would allow this is going to be wide, and then 7 has a decision. Does he play back into 4. Does 6 show for it? If 9 shows across, can 10 screen? The number 2 can screen the pass and cut it out. Oh, sorry, the number 3. But obviously I'm not allowing him to go in there to start with. Okay, or is he going to try and go one-on-one and deliver across? Okay, so you might have your combinations. 6 is over here. He's played in there. 9 is nice and clever. He's bright, he's moved, he's played that in. As that's happened, he's made the run. He's fed him outside. And again, we've delivered. Players attacking the box for the first part of that, of the practice. And again, then you might eventually just go unlocked. So 2 can come right in. 7 might be the player that comes and finds that space that you're looking at, where 9 stays high. 6, 4 on the ball. 6 has gone, 7's in, and now we're causing issues here. 8 coming to feet to attract 6, tucking over so that 6 might be the ball in, because we've got this here. This is being picked up here. I'm getting out of here. So that's the basics of the session. So you would start an area, your 6 player, your 6v6 in here locked in. Okay, if the Reds win the ball, can they play into one of the small goals? So as I've got rid of this pitch to start with, start of the pitch, because I've only have 12, I'd have a goal centrally, which is worth 3 points, and a goal at the side, which is worth 1 point. Okay, if I did have extra players here, I might have another goal there, a 1 point goal. Again, if I've got extra players and it's a goalkeeper, I might have it there. And if Reds win it, can they finish? And I would allow them to break out to have a finish. Again, it might start unopposed. They might allow 6 and 8 to recover. I might allow 4 just step in and become a defender. Again, you can play around with your rules how you see fit for what the session is that you're looking to do. So, and then as I say, you could then move on, nice and simple, get rid of any locked in area to finish the practice off, especially if you've got enough players on this side. Again, if I didn't, I might just get rid of this area, but just section this area off so there's no left side play for the attacking team. But if I've got players, brilliant, and then I can just go into a straight function, defence v attack, looking at playing again. I might have a centre forward if I've got enough players to allow these to play into if they win it. Again, keeping these 2 midfielders honest defensively, because if they get a bit, then it's going to be too simple. So a centre forward here might just keep them a bit honest in and around trying to screen the ball when they have it. Again, recovery, and so on. Okay, so that's just that part of the session. Trying to look at getting players into them little spaces in behind midfield. Okay, so that's just a session looking at how can we get players to look to play in behind their opposing midfield. Can we work out with your 10 and your 9, your front players, can they drop off? Can they recognise when to drop into midfield, those higher midfield positions, and be a threat in behind central midfield players? A couple of things to kind of remember when doing these sessions is try and keep the realism when it comes to the defending midfielders and the defending centre-backs, because obviously when they know what the topic is, players can sometimes sort of kind of cheat, as we call it, try and be overly narrow, shielding and coming across unrealistic. So as the coach, again, we've got to manage that within the session to try and keep the players realistic. You might do it by simply allowing the team in possession to go outside the topic, but to bring the opponents back in. So you might allow them to play just over the top or play wide and cross in straight away to get the midfield to be a more realistic shape. And then as it goes back to a more realistic shape, you would go back into the topic that you're looking to do. Obviously, you can just stop the practice, position players where you say they should be and tell them to be a bit more realistic, things like that. Obviously, again, you might section the pitch a bit more so they're in sort of areas and zones that they have to be in and stuff. It's just another idea, a way of you might be able to control and manage the players that are defending, because like I say, when they know what the topic is and where players are trying to play, they try to sometimes obviously know it and go into those areas nice and early, which becomes unrealistic to the practice. So again, we're looking at obviously types of pass, movement, timing, the movement timing in terms of the second player. So as 4's playing to 8, is 10 already moving into the space so 8 can play quickly? Once 8 has played to 10, as 8 make a run off of his pass, as soon as it's left his boot, as he made the run to overlap, is 6 the one making the run because 9's created a lot of space for him so they can combine. All these kind of little things we're looking at, trying to get the players to look at where and how we can cause problems in behind midfield.